Hi, everyone. Welcome back. My name is Nico and I use he, him pronouns. I'm a white man with parted blonde hair, a black headset, brown and blue spectacles, and a gray Star Wars t-shirt underneath a brown cardigan. I'm seated in front of a purple wall and some bookcases. And like about 25% of the US population, I'm disabled. Non-disabled individuals might see our lives and experiences as tragic, sad, pitiful, but I don't know, guys. I've been disabled a pretty long time, and I think that there also exists room for disabled joy. Our community has as many members as it has opinions, though, which is why I've asked my friend Grace here with me today to talk about disabled joy. Hi, Grace. How are you doing?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm well, thank you. Grace, can you relay for me a joyful memory that you have? It could have to do with your disability, or it could be completely separate.
Sure. First I want to just say I'm Grace. Pronouns are she, her. A white woman with dark hair, pulled back, so you won't be able to see it very well. But I have blue headphones, blue glasses, blue shirt, and a blue background that looks like space. So that's a fake background. Okay, so can you repeat the question just so I don't get off track?
Of course, no problem. Can you tell us about a joyful memory? It could have to do with your disability, or it could be totally independent of that.
Joyful memory. I have lots of joyful memories. I would have to say, being a mother, there's a lot of joyful memories because you get to spend time with your kids and your family and my husband. And I would say going to the beach together is amazing. Um, I think as far as like when it does relate to disability, I think that the disability community is what brings me joy as far as that goes because the community is so it's so broad and diverse, but it's also so connected and linked in so many ways. And so I think that it feels like home. Also, it feels like family, and it's just something that I didn't get to experience when I was younger because I was late diagnosed autistic. So I didn't have a lot of community outside of my own family and a couple of friends here and there, but I think that the disability community brings me a lot of joy.
Thank you, Grace. That was a fantastic answer. A lot of it jives with what I've been hearing from other interviewees about our community being a source of joy or a source of friendships and connections that bring joy. But then the first part of your answer is also very salient. Having that family time, being with your kids, your spouse, that's really excellent. I don't believe that I've interviewed anybody who is a parent yet. So I appreciate that perspective. Thank you. How has your disability intersected or impacted your ability to pursue joy or to pursue happiness?
I would say growing up, it was harder. Um, I guess different kind of hard because there's hard now too, but um, growing up, it was really hard to make friends. I mean, I'm autistic. I didn't know I was autistic, but the social cues and the social norms and the social expectations. And then just kids tend to recognize when you're different from them and they don't know why, but they just want to exclude you because of it, because they're like, oh, there's something somewhat off about you, in my opinion. So you can't be a part of this activity or you can't be a part of this group. And I played sports, so I was kind of like obligatorily included in team activities, even if they were outside of the sports. I got invited to like that's how I got invited to sleepovers. I think those were the only sleepovers I really did was like with whole teams that I played with. But I might have had one or two others where it was like close friend or something. But it was really hard to start friendships. It was really hard to maintain friendships. It was really hard to keep friends. I know that when I was young, I always like befriended the new kid in school. Every year, I swear, every year there was a new kid in school, and I always befriended that person, and that worked for me for however long it took them to make other friends, and then they would like dump me. And I don't know if the dumping me was always a part of the plan once they had friends, or if it was like they have these friends now and I'm too awkward to include. So, I don't know. Um, and and then there's also the whole concept that people didn't recognize it in me either. Like they did, but they didn't. They only subconsciously recognized it, but not consciously. And so that I was autistic. And so um, I get seen as just like everybody else, but not like everybody else. And it's a weird, what's the word? Like a paradox. Is that the word that I'm looking for? Okay. Um, it's kind of like a paradox where like you seem too normal, and I put quotation marks around that. Normal. There's no such thing, but normal to society's perspective. But then you seem not normal enough. And it can be really challenging to walk that tightrope where you don't fit in anywhere for a long, long time. Or if you think that you have friends and you really cling to that because you've not been able to have that in other situations. And then when they betray you later, because kids often do, when you're growing up, kids, they don't even know themselves anymore or yet, and they just can't figure out what's the right way to go. And I mean, kids are smart. I'm not saying they aren't, and they're intuitive, but they're also immature and they're not ready for um, the responsibilities of being a whole respectable or respectful person as they're growing. And so you get I would say maybe turned on by real close friends, and then you're just like, well, what can I do for friends anymore? Like I don't fit in with bigger crowds, but when I get the close friendships, it just turns into this very traumatic experience, and it's very hard. And then, you know, um, as an adult, there's different kinds of hard, but somehow it's a little bit the same too. Like when you go to work and you seem normal enough, but not normal enough, and you don't jive with your boss or you don't jive with one or two coworkers, and then they decide to just make it so much more difficult for you. It all depends on your environment. Right now I don't have any of that going on because I work from home with and you know take care of my son while I'm working and stuff, and I do it all from home, so I don't have a lot of like um negative interactions. But it's not like it goes away. It's not like you stop remembering your whole entire life up to that point just because now is better. I think that those are some big obstacles to joy, and I think that it takes time and perspective and community, finding your community. That's a big part of why the autistic community and the disabled community are just really, really that important to me, because they actually happened before like my children and my husband. So they've been a source of joy sooner and longer. But obviously, my relationship with my kids and my husband is deeper. So I think that the relationships are finally finding where I fit and who I fit with, and feeling that connection and the joy of that connection is where I get past the barriers, and find that joy. I think that it's possible to find it on your own as well. I'm not saying you have to have other people to be happy, but being autistic, that has been where the barriers were. Um, I of course, had the ability to just entertain myself pretty easily. And I was a very independent person, so that I never really had a problem being independent. But I think it's different for each person too, because we each face different disabilities, different environments, different circumstances. And so everybody's going to have different barriers and different sources of joy and different things that they already were good at. And as far as like, I was already good at independence, but now I have like this community piece for me. And so it's just finding all the pieces that make you happy and that fit your needs and passions, in life. I think being autistic, it gets real easy to be passionate about our what people call special interests. I consider them passions, um, but you get really like excited about talking about those things, and that brings joy as well. So it just depends on who you are and what you're interested in and what you want out of life. Um, so yeah, it's going to be different for everybody, I think.
Thank you, Grace. I really respect that answer. It's difficult to make friends with other kids, isn't it? Because when
Mm-hmm.
you're very young, developmentally, kids want to be all the same, right? So if your friend needs to go get a drink at the water fountain, suddenly you do too, and then suddenly all your other
Yep.
classmates do too. So at that point, you not fitting in, me not fitting in, that was seen as like a bad thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
For me personally, my parents tried to console me and say that, being an individualistic, being independent, being someone who doesn't fit the mold is good, and that's true. But developmentally, I wasn't right there at that reasoning there at 5 or 6 years old. Later on in high school, yes, but right then and there, no. It it takes time for those puzzle pieces you were talking about to fit into place, whether they fall into place naturally or you have to configure them. So I feel you in that definitely. Thank you so
I
much.
think I think for sure. I just want to add to that what you just said
Sure.
there. I think for sure that when it comes to being a disabled person, you have to configure it yourself. Some people may have
That's a
the
good
pieces
point.
fall together on their own, but I think that as disabled people, because of our barriers in life, we do have to configure it ourselves. And I think that sometimes why it takes till later is because we need the maturity to be able to accept certain circumstances and choose to find the joy in the things that really matter as opposed to the things that don't. So,
That's very valid too. Thank you, Grace. Much of
mm-hmm.
disabled life is finding out what works for you and exactly how it works for you.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. Grace, you've had a lot of experiences in the disability community, and I've really enjoyed learning from you and hearing your story. But I'm going to ask you to do something difficult, and that is pick only one thing that you want the general public, the rest of the world, say, to know about disabled life and disabled quality of life.
I want to say, I think if it's just one thing, I would like to say that we're not that much different than the rest of the population. We are human. We are have the same wants and needs. We have almost the same capabilities in almost every area of life, except for the one tiny piece where our disability requires more accommodation. Like, you mentioned that I was the first parent that you interviewed, and I was actually surprised. Most people wouldn't be surprised that you just say, "Oh yeah, I haven't." Everyone else hasn't been parents. I was surprised because it's just as possible for disabled people as it is for non-disabled people to have children, spouses, family. They can adopt if they can't um, conceive. There's so many ways and so many uh, people in the disability community who are parents. There are so many. And I think that that falls into what I was saying is that we are just like everybody else in that sense. There is no normal, anyways. Um, everybody's unique. Every single human on this planet is unique. And so we're going to be just as unique as well, but we are more alike than we are not alike from from everyone else. And I think that people need to know that because they see us in such a they put us in a box, and it's a very limiting box in their mind. And they think that there's only so much that our lives can hold because we're in that box. But none of us are really in that box. We're only in the box in their mind. We are out there in the world doing lots of amazing things. I've known or read about or learned about many, many people in the disability community who have high level education, have high level jobs, have huge um, communities, both within the disabled community and outside of the disabled community. They have families, they have friends, they have, you know, hobbies, they have skills, they have talents, they have interests, they have everything that everybody else has. And that's why we have joy, because we have full lives too, as long as no one's stopping us. You know, I mean, that is possible, that happens, and that's something that is a whole different topic. And so you said one thing, and so I'm saying one thing and sticking to it because I'm autistic and I follow the rules.
I
Very
appreciate
literal.
that. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. Grace, it has been unexpectedly empowering and quite interesting talking with you. So I'm very grateful for our conversation today. My last planned question is one that I ask all my interviewees, regardless of project. And it is this. Is there a recent win that you're celebrating that we could help like elevate and celebrate along with you? Or if you don't consider like any of your wins recent enough, what cool things are you doing? What projects have you got going on? This is your chance to promote yourself, to brag. If you want to direct people to like a specific social media or internet outlet that you are on, this is the chance. So let's hear it. This is your soapbox moment.
Well, I am writing a book, but it's going to be a while before it comes out. Um, Figure it out myself. But I think right now, maybe everybody just go follow me and connect with me on LinkedIn. That's where I spend most of my social media time. If you go there, you'll find my link tree. So if you're interested in other things I'm doing, you can find out from there. Yeah, I just, you know, come connect with me. I love connecting.
All right, Grace. Well, we will connect with you and we'll be on the lookout for your book to climb those best-selling lists. Grace, thank you so
Thank you.
much for sticking out with me and speaking with me today. I found it very valuable. I can't wait to see what you do next.
Oh,
Audience,
I enjoyed this very much. Thank you so
oh,
much.
of course, it's a pleasure to do it. Audience, tune in next time and remember, I'm rooting for you.